Hey friends, my name is Joseph Rahm and I'm the lead pastor of Eastside Christian Fellowship. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm honored by your desire to learn more about who we are as a church and where we believe God is leading us. And because you're watching this video, then you likely consider yourself a part of this body of believers, are considering joining us, or for one reason or another have a special interest in learning more about who we are and where we're going. If you've been following our recent communication, then you know that we are in a vision renewal process, which we are calling NextChapter. The entire purpose of NextChapter is to implement what we believe are the necessary changes in order to appropriately and successfully respond to God's call to make disciples throughout the Puget Sound, particularly here on the East Side. The following video will give you insight into one specific aspect of NextChapter. My hope and prayer is that you would not only be encouraged by the direction God is leading this church, but that you would also consider how the Holy Spirit may be leading you to become more involved in joining with us in making disciples. I hope you enjoy the following video and find it helpful in learning more about who we are and where we're going. Thanks. Hey friends, welcome to the NextChapter video number 5, as we spend some time today to discuss church leadership. And if you've been part of this body of believers for any amount of time, you know that we are an elder-run church, meaning that we have qualified men who have been voted in by the church body to come and lead this church as shepherds. And one thing that we've learned from these past few years is that our elders have been pulled in multiple directions. And while they still shepherd this body well, they've also been asked to do things like create policies on COVID procedures and all of those kinds of things. And so one of our hopes and our aspirations as we renew our vision and look toward what God is calling us as a body of believers is, how do we structure leadership within the church so that our elders will continue to shepherd and to lead well, but where we're also pulling in the talent and the gifts and the abilities of the body, of staff, of lay leaders, also elders as well, to lead and guide the church in what we're going to just refer to now as leadership teams. And so the hope here is that we would have men and women step into leadership teams on the church that would help provide some of the guidance and the leadership that this body needs as we continue to seek the vision that God has called us to. And so, Castor, as you think about just kind of what the immediate needs are for these leadership teams, what are the things that come to mind?
Yeah, I think, I think for me, there's two categories that become apparent. There's kind of the administration category, which we can kind of envision a finance team that can come along and the elders can kind of give them a mandate of, hey, this is what the Lord has blessed us for this year, and here's what we're envisioning of kind of how to cut it, slice up this pie, and so they're going to go and kind of implement and come back and make recommendations and give us quarterly reports and things like that. Again, people that are gifted in that realm that can use their expertise to help us do that. And so that's one less thing that the elders have to be totally hands-on, but can still direct and guide, but also people that know the inner workings of accounting can do a really good job of giving us those accurate pictures or recommendations. But you have practical things also in addition to that, like maintaining a building. We've purchased a building we're sitting in right now, and it's not quite finished, but hopefully in the next few months, as it's finished and we move in and we're doing church and offices in here and events and things like that, there's going to be upkeep, there's going to be wear and tear, there's going to be repairs that I think we've always, it has been the ECF way to do it internally and do it cost effectively, and just like some of the build, we've got these really nice remodeled restrooms that guys in the church jumped in and helped do and saved us thousands of dollars, literally. And so that's going to be the continued ethos as we move into this building. Same with vehicles. We'd love to have a team that can maintain our vehicles, that can make sure they're running appropriately and are serviced and things like that. That again, guys that are gifted in that realm and enjoy the work, then why not invite them into that opportunity? And so again, some of these teams are year round and will stay a part of the leadership. Some are dynamic, some could serve a purpose in a season, but then be put on the back shelf, and others could be kind of created or invented as needs arise. And so it's not, hey, once you're signed up, you're locked in for this many years or a life sentence or anything. But it's it's going to kind of come and go as needs come and go. So that's what makes it exciting. As you mentioned, some of these teams will have some elders in them, some staff in them, but again, I think just drawing from the collective body will be really exciting to see how it works.
Yeah, and in addition to the administrative component, there's also this component of kind of outreach, discipleship.
Yes.
You can talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, that's the one that I think, thanks for reminding me, because I think it's one of those things where some of us have the default of being really good internal disciple makers within the church, whether that's teaching Sunday school, leading youth, Bible studies, which is a huge component of what we do and what we desire to do. But some are just by nature are just outward focused. They love to know what's going on in their community. They love to connect and network and say, hey, they're doing this, let's come alongside of them and do this. And that's always happened in an organic way with ECF, and obviously we've reached out to schools and build partnerships there. But I think to have that team do it in an organized way where they can come together, dream, envision, look what's out there, and then come back and say, hey, these opportunities are out there, so let's add them to our annual love campaign, or let's think about supporting them in the spring or summer, and they can do some of that legwork for us as we kind of pray and just follow God's leading in that. So I think that's another huge component that, again, has happened in some ways organically, but to envision it happening with purpose gets me really excited.
Yeah, and so one of the questions might be, when can we expect to see some of these changes? And for this body of believers, every few years, the church gets to vote on a new slate of elders, gets to recommend men who go through a process of just being kind of assessed and evaluated to ensure that we are following God's command for leadership here. And so that will likely happen sometime after we're fully occupying this building, sometime in late 2023 or early 2024. And so we look toward full implementation of this new church leadership with elders, but also working alongside leadership teams. And yet between now and then, there's going to be a need to start trying to get some of these teams off the ground to help provide leadership structure and support. And so for those of you who might consider joining a leadership team, I would just encourage you now to start considering, what are your gifts and abilities? What are your skills? And what ways might you be able to invest in the long-term leadership and health of this body of believers? And so, Castro, before kind of wrapping up, what is it that just kind of gets you excited, or is you're reminded of the purpose of why we would want to just shift things a little bit in leadership structure? What is it that kind of comes to your mind?
Yeah, just being a general fan of sports. I love watching it on TV. I love going to live events, and it for some reason I tend to focus on sometimes as not just the players on the field, but those that are standing on the sidelines, those that are maybe in offices or in booths, directing, guiding, planning, implementing, and I think of how many people it takes to, for example, in football, to have 11 players on the field for an hour must take hundreds, if not thousands, of people doing various jobs that sometimes you never hear about or see or aren't highlighted, but it takes them to make that game happen and those players to be successful. And so I think of the church in that same way. There's so many people that have tremendous giftings and callings, and sometimes they feel like, well, if I don't have a title, if I can't do this or that, then there's nothing for me to do. Right. And outside of those that volunteer and make church happen, I think there's another layer or two that we're missing that can participate and help plan and dream and vision and implement things that will just make us that much more better as a community. So that gets me super excited to see what those layers look like and where the Lord just takes it as we kind of put those pieces together.
Yeah, so really, friends, what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, what shifts do we make as a church that best sets us up for long-term success and flourishing and health as a body of believers? And so as we look back to the New Testament, there were men who were selected and chosen to lead, and they played a very important role in shepherding, but there were also men and women who played very important roles in carrying the vision and the mission of the early church forward. And so that is what we are striving to, having a team of men who shepherd the church as elders, but also having groups of men and women who are gifted, who have been given passions and other interests in other areas to come alongside the church and to lead us to the vision that God has given us. And so just once again, I want to encourage you to begin thinking and praying of what your role might be as we look to build up some other small teams to come alongside the elders, to come alongside the staff, and just really creating this vision as we move forward. So thanks again for tuning in to the 5th video in this Next Chapter series. We will look forward to wrapping up in one more week as we come back with the final and concluding video. God bless.